friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. Going to take just a second here and introduce one of my next projects to you. And we're going to call this the UK mandolin. Yes, this mandolin is going to be built for a fellow over in the United Kingdom. I believe he said he was from England, and if I try to go any farther back in my memory than that, I'll mess it up. I want to say Sussex, but I'm probably wrong on that part. Anyway, I spent all day yesterday on a road trip to buy wood for, well, actually for my next two mandolins, which I've only got one of those sold, and that's the one to the UK. But, you know, I always try to buy enough for at least two mandolins while I'm up there, just so I'll have one in stock for the next guy that calls. Bought some really good stuff, so we're going to show it to you right now. This, what we're looking at here, is the neck blanks. You can see, I think you can see, how high a quality this stuff is. Just super curly, both of them. They look pretty much identical, just super curly wood. And so either one of those would make a fine neck. Really no difference quality-wise at all that I can see. So they're both perfect for making necks. I can actually probably make, the way I make my necks, I could probably make 2 or 3 necks out of each one of these. Probably at least 2. This is just some brace wood that he throws in there so that you have a little extra wood to make the braces for the tops. So we've got that. Here are the top boards that I bought. They're very high quality, super straight grain. Couldn't get them much more quarter sawed than that. You can see how the grain goes straight through, pretty much just straight up and down through there. The evenness of the grain is very important, and it's just incredibly even all the way across there. You couldn't hardly buy a better piece of wood. Listen to the tone already. Now this is very high pitched in the little tiny hole that the camera has there. I don't know if it'll pick this up or not, but here we go. Very high pitched. But it rings already very well, so it's going to be a very good piece of wood. Now that's one top, and this is the top that I'll probably use for the UK mandolin. Although he, you know, if he chooses that he wants this one, we'll use this one. This one is fine too. You know, of the two, I prefer this one, not for any big reason other than the grain size is just a hair more consistent in this. Don't get me wrong, both of these would be considered AAA tops. I mean, they're super good, both of them. And they both make a great sound when you tap on them. This one. So they both sound awesome. And so either one of those would make a great top. I probably will use the first one I showed for the UK mandolin. Then we have the backwood here, which is, again, just awesome wood. I mean, you know, he really lets me pick through and take my time and pick out what I want. And again, I like the very quarter sawed wood. Some people don't. Some people like the slab sawed wood better. I carve my tops and backs light and thin, and the quarter sawed is stronger. That's why I use the quarter sawed versus the slab sawed. A lot of guys these days just much prefer the slab sawed, and that's fine. I prefer the quarter sawed. I think it's a higher grade of wood. It's a stronger wood. Yes, it's harder to work with. You know, I think it produces a better instrument in the long run. So that's what I use. Very high-end piece of wood there, and the other one is just as high-end, incredibly good quality, both of them. The customer can choose which one he likes the best. The difference between the two that I can see is that the curls are angling slightly on this one. Now, we could turn it the other way. You know, we could have the angle going down if you prefer that, or the angle, what I call coming up in the back this way. But it doesn't really matter. You can do it either way. It's going to produce a wonderful instrument either way. Again, very much quarter sawed. Super high quality wood, both of them. So either one of them will make an incredibly good mandolin. And I got a little more brace wood thrown in there. And then we bought plenty of curly wood for the sides to make the sides out of. And I don't know, again, it's hard to see that the camera's letting you see the curl there, but they're just as curly as wood gets. You can't hardly get it much more curly than that. So it's all high-end stuff. Now let's switch focus to talking about the costs on all this stuff. You know, I've actually had a number of negative comments saying, oh, you charge way too much for your mandolins, and you know, you're way too expensive and all this kind of thing. Of course, I've had plenty of support too from the other side of it, that you don't charge enough and all that kind of stuff. So, and I really can appreciate both comments. I understand where you're coming from. If you can't afford an instrument like this, I understand that. I've been there and I know how you feel. Trust me. But I just, I'm not saying this so much in my defense. I just want you to see both sides of it as well. Just that amount of wood that I bought there was $400. So in other words, $200 for each mandolin. That's just the wood. Now, that doesn't include my time to drive 2 hours that way and 2 hours back this way, and so there's a lot of, if you count that up, that's a lot of money too, really. I mean, not only in gas, but time, and because that's $60 an hour I'm not making in the studio here while I'm driving to get that. So you could add that onto the cost and it would be legitimate. But just at the $200 per mandolin, that's a significant chunk of change. Then you've got about $175 for this beauty. It's a gold-plated James tailpiece, and it's got my name engraved on it there. And it's the high-end stuff. This is not the cheap stuff. This is all machined and milled. This isn't stamped metal. And it has O-rings that go in here too. So it's very high-end, and this clamps shut once you get the O-rings in there. So there's another $175. I'll let you keep track of the totals. And then we have this little beauty. And these are the Waverly tuning keys. I use only the best stuff I can find. These little gems will set you back. That little box right there will set you back. Guess how much? I think the price is up to $567, somewhere around there now. It's way up there. It's well over $500. So to buy two of these, I'm out over $1,000 for the two mandolins, just for tuning keys. Now tell me how I'm going to build a mandolin that I'm going to sell for $1,000 so far. It just doesn't add up, guys. So if you're looking for the low-end mandolin, well, you have to look somewhere else. I'm sorry, but I can't afford to build one in that range. So here we go. So there's another $567. I'm pretty sure that's right. I could be wrong on that though, because I didn't look it up. But it's close, I know that. Then, I don't have all the other things to show you here, but then you got to buy, I do buy the fretboard. That's the only component of wood that I buy pre-cut, because it just doesn't, I can't make it any better than I can buy it. So that's the main reason I buy that. Roughly in the $25 to $30 range for a blank fretboard, but then you got to add fret wire and frets and the time to make that. So you can figure out your own cost on that, whatever you think that is. Then you have to, you buy your little in button and stuff. That's just a few dollars. You have to buy a bridge, which is about, roughly, I'm going to say roughly $35, somewhere in that range, for a good ebony quality bridge. I put my deer antler saddle on it, which, I sell those for $30, so you could add that too, really, legitimately. Of course, you've got your strings. And we can't forget about a case that usually is over $200 for the case. Oh, another expense that I always forget is the binding. I use the expensive stuff. It's the old binding that's highly flammable, and they charge like $75 hazmat fee just to buy the stuff. And the binding itself is probably worth $10, and you have to pay the extra $75 just to get the stuff shipped to you. Not to mention the shipping cost itself. So, it's just crazy. The whole thing is bonkers, man. There's lots of little miscellaneous pieces here and there, like the peg head overlay, the inlay, the buttons, the dots, the shell for the peg head. I mean, all of it costs me money. And when I figure out my out-of-pocket cost, On the last mandolin that I built, for last year I believe it was, I think it was over $1,500. So that's my out-of-pocket cost. So there you go, guys. They're expensive. And yes, I do charge $6,000 for a mandolin. And I think they're worth every penny. You know, I don't make any claims that they're better than anybody else's, but I will make the claim that they're just as good as anybody else's. I'm not saying they're better than, you know, a Gilchrist or a custom-made Gibson or any of those things. I'm not saying that, but I am saying they're just as good. And they're just as high quality. And, you know, I know a lot of those other instruments sell for a lot more money than the $6,000, like 3 times the amount. So I think for the money, you're getting a very high quality instrument, one that's built with a lot of care. I hope you'll enjoy watching this UK mandolin come into fruition. And I might tell you also that it will have a few twists and turns that the other mandolins have not had, possibly due to some regulations for shipping. You know, I think there's some regulations about pearl and abalone and different things like that the UK may have that we don't have here. So we may have to do a few things, back up 10 yards and punch, you know. So guys, I hope that makes some sense to you. I hope you enjoyed that little quick view at the project coming up. It will be called the UK mandolin. I know that the fellow over there is anxiously awaiting it, and we're going to get started on it just as quick as we can. Thanks for watching.